Welcome back to Meet the Authors. Our first guest tonight is Marion Bowman. Marion has just published her first book. It's called Sailing into the Wind. It's a memoir of her really fascinating life. You know, memoirs are interesting because not only they tell a person's story and get the message out, but depending on how the author presents herself, you can really get into the emotions, the feelings of what it feels like to be in these situations. Tell me, Marion, what made you decide to write this memoir?
Well, I was sitting on my porch, and I'm going to read a little bit about that. I have a place called a sanctuary place, which is my front porch. I live on the beach, and I get to look at the beautiful Gulf of Mexico that we have here. And it inspires me to write all the time. And my memoir is written when I'm sitting on my little porch. And I want to read just a little segment that would tell a little bit of the story of my memoir.
That'd be great.
It goes, when I look back on my life, I see a girl searching for who she is and who she will become. Sometimes she found herself, or she thought she did, but then lost herself again. Life is often 2 steps forward and 1 step back, as the song goes. I also see a thirst for adventure and a struggle for identity and independence. That comes from the section of my book called Sanctuary. It's my sanctuary place that I go to, and that's in the beginning of the book.
Yeah, your sanctuary. Everyone should have one, a place to write, a place to feel comfortable. I really like that. I was talking earlier about the intensity of your writing. I picked out a few phrases that I really like. If I put on my glasses.
So I just got mine.
Yeah, pick them up. If the fan had not been making a whirling noise, my thumping heart would have been heard, just as sure as thunder booms in the sky before a summer storm. I love that writing. You have such intense visualizations. So this book talks a little bit about your youth and about your marriages and such, but what I think I found most fascinating was your many travels. Tell us about some of that. Tell me about your trip to Saudi Arabia, how that came about, and some of the efforts you had through there.
Well, Saudi Arabia was an adventure. I had been married for a while, and I thought we'd need a little change in our marriage. So
that's a change, all right.
So I suggested to my husband that he take a lateral trip to Saudi Arabia for 2 years, but we would only go for 1 year because the children were still in high school. And so I thought it would be a great time, a great adventure. On the way to Saudi Arabia, we stopped in Europe and visited many European countries, and that was very enlightening too to me. But Saudi Arabia, don't ask me why I chose Saudi Arabia. I guess I was just looking for a change. And it was a very big change because women were very oppressed there. But being with the Corps of Engineers, where my husband was, we had all the niceties that a military family would have. So, but I really learned to see what it's like to live in an oppressed society where women couldn't drive. There were, they couldn't go to shopping centers or anything because there were no shopping centers, and there still aren't today. So it's still a very oppressed country as far as women is concerned.
And part of the book is about your work in Ukraine. How you wrote it's a diary, and you wrote about how you went there and you didn't speak any of the language, and how you picked up on as a school teacher starting a new program. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was at a writing conference actually in Idaho. And I was talking to a fellow, and he says, you should look into this organization called IESC. It's International Service Corps. It's like the Service Corps, but it's more for managers that want to bring something to a culture. And so I got this letter from this gal in Ukraine, asked me if I would come. I'm an educator, and I was running a Montessori school at the time. I started many schools. And so she wanted me to come because they wanted to do a program that would teach individualization and free thinking, and that was what my Montessori program is all about. And so I went there as a consultant for a month and a half or 2, and it was quite a different experience, and I was wondering why I was going to a country that had never even seen an American, so I was like a celebrity when I went there. And so that was the reason, and I guess I just had that adventure spirit. And I think that's what I try to portray in my book, my sense of adventure that propelled me into who I am today, to be this sort of independent, adventurous person.
It's a wonderful story, and really a model for a lot of people to learn from how to run their own life. Tell me, how many different countries have you been to?
Oh, I guess sometimes it's better to say how many I haven't been to. I'm planning to go to Vietnam in November,
Really?
which I haven't done, and I've been watching that special on PBS the last few nights. I've been to, China, India, South Africa, Africa, you name it. I've been pretty much all over the world. Morocco, not too long ago. I even went to Cuba about 3 months ago. So
That's amazing.
I try to go to different cultures. I've been to Paris so many times, Europe mainly, that I prefer trying to go to countries that aren't in Europe, outside of Europe. Smaller countries that aren't so crowded with tourists. That's something I can learn from, something that I can experience so that I can come back and write about it.
That's great. Well, I love your book. I love reading it and the great philosophies. Tell the audience, where is it that they can buy your book? Where can they get your book?
Well, you can buy my book at Barnes & Nobles. I did a book signing there a couple weeks ago, and also on Amazon. Most people buy it on Amazon. I'm sure you can get it at all the local bookstores, because I got it at the bookstore. I have several at the local bookstore in Bay St. Louis. And right now, my book's only been out about 2 months. So right now I'm in the marketing stage of my book. And so I'm trying to promote my book, promote my name, promote my story mainly. So I think I have a story that women can relate to, especially women that are in the 40s, 50s age group that are going through different experiences in life.
That was great. That's really fascinating stories. We really enjoyed having you on our show, Marion. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Philip, for asking me.
All right. Go to my website, drstreams.com. You can pick up any of my books or any of our guests' books. All the guests have been invited to put their books on my website and get them directly from there.